Hey there, I got a really cool video for you guys today. This one, I did a farm tour and interview with Brooke and Jesse at Broken Spoke Farm in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and they have this super cool operation doing a little bit of everything. They have a market garden, they're doing fruit production, pasture-raised sheep and cows, and the really neat thing is they're doing an on-farm farm stand with an honor system 7 days a week, and then they're also making ice cream. And the ice cream is incredible, and it has driven so many sales for their company and for their farm, and it just brings in people from the community, and it's super special. So, hope you enjoy. Brooke and Jesse, we're out at your farm, Broken Spoke. Thanks for having me out today.
Thanks for coming.
I am just first impressions walking around. This place is absolutely beautiful, and unlike I think any other farm I've been to. Tell me a little bit about the farm here, what you guys do, those sorts of things.
So we purchased this land about 5 years ago, and we knew back then that we were looking to do like a farm stand. And so our idea of looking was,
Actually, I'm gonna stop him there. We weren't gonna do a farm stand. We were gonna do a blueberry pick your own. So we were thinking we need some roadside coverage or
publicity.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, man, we searched for land for about 3 years, found this piece of land on a busy intersection of St. Mary's and Pleasant Green in Hillsborough, and we just started planting right away. And we
planted even before the sale was completely finished. We put 1,000 blueberry bushes in the ground.
Before we even signed, I was out here marking where I was putting blueberry bushes because we knew that we wanted the blueberries, blackberries, asparagus, and again, we were looking for a lot of land, a lot of pasture. We knew that we wanted to keep animals, and we found this land, and what you'll see is that it's not just a block of grass. We found this old farm that didn't have a house that we had to pay for, so that was really nice. We could just buy land, and it came with all these old trees and old buildings, and it just had a feel, and it was amazing when we got here, and we knew right away it was worth the money.
And 4 years ago, we set up our first card table by the street with 3 squash and a couple sunflowers. And then that was our first farm stand. And the year after that was
the day after we got married.
Yeah. And then the next year we built a little bit more, had a canopy over that tiny card table. And since then it's progressed into a farm stand that's open every day. And during the summer we make soft serve ice cream, which is the new breakthrough business.
That's awesome. We're going to get into that for sure. But you guys are doing, so much. Like fruit, you guys have market gardening, you're growing vegetables, and you got a bunch of pastured animals too. So you're at an awesome intersection here for on-farm sales. How does that work here?
So we started this farm. She was working a full-time job, and it was just me. And it was like, how do we sell this produce? And, after we finally had gotten some traction and people were coming, and we decided that the honor system was something that we needed to do, basically because we couldn't stand up here and sell produce all day. And man, ever since we did that, we could work all day long and sell at the same time. We didn't have to go to a farmer's market on Saturday. We could sell directly from the farm every day, which is a blessing and a cursing, curse and a blessing. But man, we found that people really love maybe not interacting with people when they purchase. They love being honest. I think they like tipping. Sometimes we see people buy $10 worth of stuff, but they'll put a $20 bill in.
And it's fun watching people do their own math. That's really the challenge of the farm stand. Some of our customers also do comment that it's nice having the introvert farmer's market where people can come and, like Jesse was saying, not have to talk to anyone.
That's a really interesting approach. I think it's really old school, right? But also at the same time, like nowadays with everything, you buy everything on the internet, it's kind of anonymous. And maybe that's feeds into that introverted customer.
Yes.
And if there was anything that this worked for, was this year when, you know, people during COVID.
People needed space, and they needed an outdoor setting. And they also needed to get out and be in touch with community and nature, and this spot provided that, which has been wonderful for us.
When it first happened and people felt that they were trapped in their house, I mean, people just would come here just to buy an ice cream or just to like buy a salad mix, you know, just, man, do you have anything green? Yeah, you know, people were nervous about grocery stores then, and it was like all we heard about was small businesses closing. This was happening, and man, our business like flourished because of this outdoor setting. Again, we set up a hand washing station. We tried to make everything as safe as possible, and that system really worked for us this year. You know, it worked every year, but this year during this issue.
Yeah, there's definitely a huge demand for local food. I think all the local small farmers, like all the community's been like just pouring their energy into, because people are worried about where their food's gonna come from, and most people don't think about that day to day.
Man, and if, you know, we do keep animals, but man, it was like when we heard about all the animals being euthanized, and you know, it was just like, man, what's going wrong with our, you know, food system right now? And it was like, man, I wish we could have offered more from our farm stand, you know, but.
And one unique thing that has come out of the pandemic is collaboration with other farmer friends of ours, because we realized that when restaurants closed, people weren't able to sell as much of their produce as they were growing, and so we contacted some friends who then got us further connected with the farming community around us, and we formed really nice partnerships where we're buying produce weekly from a couple of farmers to add to what we grow.
And you know, to think of those restaurant farmers who planned on, you know, selling to restaurants all year, and all the restaurants shut down, and they had all these vegetables they couldn't sell.
That's awesome. I think it's a creative way to turn a problem into a solution, essentially.
Exactly.
All
and
right.
we really felt that we were helping people.
All right, so many cool things going on here. Let's go take a look around.
Let's do it.
All right, so a decent part of your operation here is the pasture-raised cattle. Talk a little bit about what you guys got going on.
So when we first moved here, I found the Orange County Cattlemen's Association, because obviously I knew I had a whole lot of grass. I didn't have any animals yet, and man, I met some really cool people who, you know, really wanted to work with me. I told them about my experiences that I've had in other farms, and man, I had a guy come and he brought all his cattle here just to graze the land, and so that I could work with his cattle, moving them, setting up all my fencing. And you know, and basically at the end of the year, that man gave me a pregnant female, you know, for keeping his cattle. I had nice grass, and ever since then, after that, I bought 3 more females from him. I would rent his bull from him every year, and man, now all these cattle are mine. And just slowly building a herd, slowly trying to figure out pasture management in terms of like how many head can I keep on this. I'm not cutting hay, I'm buying hay, but I try and stockpile grass going through the winter. I got lots of people around me already cutting hay. And as you'll see, I've now set up all this permanent fencing for rotational grazing, and now it's very difficult to cut hay on my land because of all my fencing. We started off with the poly line before I put in permanent fencing, just to kind of get a feel of like, how big do I want my pastures? Where do I want them? And
so how long was that process till you feel like you got it dialed in?
Man, probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
You know, and just setting up fences. And then once I had that poly line, I found that the poly line, after a few years, you know, was starting to break, or the filaments in it were breaking. The whole line wasn't hot. And then I was like, man, I need to move to high tensile fencing. You know, I had some pigs get out one day, and I was riding down the road looking for them, and that's when I was like, I need real fencing, you know.
Okay, so how many head are you guys running here?
I think right now I have 15.
Okay.
And basically, I think for me at this point, 7 to 10 mothers, females, cows is about as much as I can handle on my 20 acres of pasture.
Okay. So you're also using some for sheep too?
Yeah, so we keep sheep too, and I moved, again, it was just more of a hobby. I don't make a whole lot of money off these animals, but we eat meat. We eat the meat that we raise. And you know, when you take or harvest a full-grown beef cow, or you know, a steer, it's a lot of work. So I was just like, oh man, these lamb and the sheep are much easier for me to deal with. I got put in the hospital by one of these mothers, and after that I was like, oh, what am I doing? You know, so that's when I built the corral. Man, it's a huge learning process for something that doesn't make me a whole lot of money, but takes a lot of my time. But you know, like we were talking, you know, with everything going on in the world, I was like, man, I either really want to be a vegetarian, or this is something I want to personally do. I want to raise my own meat. All the great ideas of rotational pasture grazing and the management, and you know, my pastures are looking beautiful, but really the biggest thing for me was loading these animals onto a trailer and taking them to the slaughterhouse. And so what I've done is that's not something I really was wanting to do. So I've tried to, you know, work around that, and the idea of that, keeping my herd small. This is not something that's making me a lot of money. I have a few buyers, and we all deal with this on a personal issue, and I get to take that life, and I take that responsibility. And that's, man, for some reason that just means a whole lot to me, as opposed to some random person I don't know killing an animal that I've raised from day one. And
well, that's very special, and I think obviously that's important for you and your family.
Yeah.
All right, so we're out here in one of your main pastures, and it looks like you have this set up for, you know, strip grazing or paddock, like it's basically set up as strips.
Exactly. So, you know, yeah, paddocks, little pastures, and again, you know, what we learned was that when those animals are in a small space, they really do mob graze. And so then, you know, they're not picky, because they're like, man, we need to really eat right now, because we have competition with us, you know, in terms of the other cattle.
All right, so you guys are keeping some sheep here too as well. How does that fit in with the plan on the farm?
So again, the sheep are just, you know, meat for us, our family, Brooks family, and it started off as a curiosity, you know, small hobby, and now I feel like they've just become part of the farm. A lot of people like to come and look at them. You know, we have lambs in, you know, early spring, February, March. Man, it's just so cool, because working with the cattle for me is like, they're kind of back there. But the sheep, you know, they're right here next to our front door. We come out and we just say hi to them every day, and they're more like, you know, pets in a sense, but not really at all. But just a much smaller animal to handle, a much safer animal in terms of size, and again, you know, lamb, beef, pork, they all have so different flavors. And man, once I had lamb for the first time, you know, my own lamb, I was like blown away. I mean, you know, me personally have this whole beef cow, all these different cuts of meat, and then you're like, man, I just want a hamburger, you know. But man, the lamb kind of has this distinct flavor that would just way different than beef. And
absolutely. And you like working with them a little bit more?
Yeah, I do like working with them, but at the same time, I noticed that I have to work with them a lot more. I'm having hoof issues. I have a little more gut issues. They seem to require a lot more knowledge than just a beef cow. We have to trim hooves a few times a year. I bought an animal and brought it onto the farm, and when I did that, I started having major hoof issues. But again, man, these are Katahdin. The one thing we don't do is shear them, because they're hair sheep in the shed, and that's really cool. You can just see how some of them shed way better than others, but it's just a nice addition to the farm, man. It's a beautiful sound in the morning, and
love it.
They bring a lot of joy.
All right, so you guys got a decent sized market garden here. Talk a little bit about, you know, what you guys are growing and those sorts of things. So, you know, we, as a kind of new farm stand trying to figure out our clients, you know, tomatoes obviously are a big hit for us. In this garden in particular, you know, a lot of okra, a lot of tomatoes, a lot of green beans.
kind of what we're cranking out now. And this was the first year that I'm already sold out of all the garlic I planted, all the onions I planted. And so kind of trying to finish out the summer. You know, it's very busy trying to grasp what's going on, and then like get a real game plan going into fall. And but again, you know, this garden right here that we're looking at, we just created all these beds this past fall and winter. So this is like this first plots of no-till, and what we'll see later is where we'll start making new beds. But man, this whole no-till market gardening is like kind of new to me. And you know, now that we got the ice cream, that helps us make the money, helps us be able to pay employees. And now, man, I'm really trying, you know, watching your station, watching all the other farms, like learning so much. And man, I feel like now I kind of got a grasp of how to do this, what's going on, and you know, now I want to get better at this.
And it sounds like you have the sales outlet with your farm stand, and you guys couldn't grow enough vegetables this year.
Right, man, couldn't grow enough, and I never would have thought that last year. You know, this year it was like mind-blowing, like, and I never thought I'd ever have to expand, and now I just see the potential of what we're able to sell. You know, realizing the scale that we can sell at this year, you know, it's easy. It's almost easier to plan when you know you can sell it, obviously. You know, we finally reached a scale where it's big enough where we can plant like 6-row blocks at a time, which last year I couldn't have done that. You know, I was planting 1 or 2 rows, and but it's helped me this year. You know, right here we have our fabric laid and holes burned for the strawberries this year, and I have 3 beds, 3 plots, 6 rows, and this is the scale that I want to go at next year. Is, you know, 3 beds of strawberries, 3 beds of garlic, 3 beds of onions, and I like planting at this. For me, it's working out in terms of water lines going this way instead of going this way in terms of a block. And as you can see behind that fabric is where we're starting to shape our next beds that the garlic could go in this fall. And then as you can see in the far back there, the cover crop, which that's ground that I just broke this summer that we're extending to, you know, in terms of
So you hope to fill out this whole field?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I think I want to go farther for things that I'll use the tractor for, like potatoes. You know, like last year I planted 400 pounds of potatoes, and I think like going into next year I want to double that, you know. And
all right, it makes sense to be further away too, because you have to visit it less often.
Right, exactly. So what we've been working on is, you know, building some more high tensile fence here, and we also have this pasture over here that that this is where mainly the cattle stay. You know, like I was saying, the sheep kind of stay near the house in terms of just predators. We keep that bottom electric line super hot, you know, in terms of coyote. But the cattle, they come off of here like in our no man's land. And man, this pasture right here where we keep our chickens is so lush now, and it's basically, we are raising chickens. Basically, I see a bag of chicken feed as fertilizer. You know, all these chickens don't really give me eggs, and this is just a home flock, but I keep them, I move them all around, and man, just in the past 2 years of these chickens being here, this grass is greener, lusher, thicker, fuller than that pasture that we started off in.
Yeah, I always say that to people, like the eggs are like a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get some eggs too. And basically we have a neighbor, and she raises hens to sell. And so we got all her males, you know, and we would raise her males, you know, for just us personally to eat. And there was a time, you know, I have 100 males out here running around. And but again, this grass looks amazing now.
It does. It looks awesome.
And our freezer's full. So
that's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
All right, so it's past blackberry season now, but you guys have a bunch of blackberries planted out here.
Yeah, so we it's past prime blackberry. We're still you know, all these, every single one of these rows, a different variety of blackberries, and you know, they all come at different times, different flavors, sizes, and fortunately we're still picking a few rows right now that we just make into sorbet or an ice cream. But so again, this was one of those things where as soon as I got here, I knew that this is something I wanted. You know, I was thinking pick your own, but this scale is not a pick your, you know, this looks like a lot, but really me and the 2 employees, we can pick all these. And again, this is a perfect crop. You plant it once. There is maintenance, obviously. As you can tell, my neighbor's working on my lawnmower. But besides mowing lawn, you know, there's a little bit of cane maintenance and, you know, pruning. But man, they super productive, super delicious. And again, not a whole lot of people have blackberries. And,
right. And so for your sales outlets, this is actually pretty awesome, because you guys are selling them, you know, by the clamshell, and then I guess depending on the flavor and stuff, you guys turn it into ice cream too.
Exactly, man.
So there's like no waste really.
There's no waste. We freeze everything. And just, you know, if it doesn't sell on the table that day, which doesn't really ever happen anymore, but, you know, immediately back into the freezer. And man, fresh blackberry ice cream. Again, it's, man, you know, just trying to now be like, oh man, we're growing so much fruit that we really just want to make it into ice cream. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, man, this fruit is good on its own, but it's way better on ice cream.
I love the way you think about it.
So this are blueberries. You know, my original goal was to pick your own, and I still, you know, this whole agro-tourism thing, I think that's a really cool idea. Obviously you can tell that our bushes are only about 4 or 5 years old, and not super productive. But again, man, when you buy 1,000 blueberries, I got them for like $3 each. I have the room, I had the equipment, I was able to put them in the ground. So this was our first year, you know, doing blueberry pick your own, just to like a few families that wanted to come out. You know, I couldn't open to the public, but we could do these, not invite only, but, you know, let's arrange this type of thing, because we're still trying to figure that out. You know, how do you run a pick your own? How do you run the farm and the ice cream, and, you know, and like running a pick your own, I feel like could be just one business.
All right, so you got another market garden plot sort of tucked away here. And so looks like you're growing a lot of greens here. You got a little bit of shade, and you got a couple of nice tunnels behind you.
Yeah, so, you know, right next to the house, I really like this garden because I keep an eye on it, you know, and in terms of, and I really like growing all my greens up here in terms of right now, you know, with the sprinklers and being on top of, you know, germination. And again, man, what a beautiful sight to look out and see it. Style of farming, gardening, growing that I like honestly feel proud of. And, you know, and it's a type of a garden that when people see it, it's like, you know, whoa, English garden, or not just that typical, you know, tractor farm.
Right. And this is right close to your house, which is, as you said, like awesome to come out and see that.
Yeah.
And so this is mainly you're growing greens in here, and then you're doing tomatoes in the tunnels?
Tomatoes in the tunnels, and that was, you know, just because these are the first 2 tunnels I've ever bought. But in all honesty, you know, now I'm going to build some more tunnels. These 2 tunnels will just be for salad production too, or, you know, green production. And I just kind of want all my greens right here, you know, and then that other one, you know, be, you know, more other types of crops being grown, where right here I can focus. There's so much going on that when I walk by here, I remember to turn the sprinklers on.
Absolutely. That's sort of that permaculture idea, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Zone 0, zone 1. Like, if you walk by it, you're going to take care of it.
Exactly. Zone 1, I take care of.
Okay. And so you guys are setting up for your farm stand now and some ice cream sales. So let's go check that out.
Awesome. Yep.
All right, so what a beautiful farm. You guys are doing so many cool things. And I think really the highlight is the farm stand here and ice cream sales. And you talk a little bit about what's going on here?
Yeah, so we make ice cream all week long and sell it out of our chest freezer, but this is the day, you know, our machine specifically is made for soft serve, and this is the day that we actually get to make it and sell it on the cone. And, you know, we get to eat it when we make it soft, but, you know, no one else gets to. So I think it's wonderful, you know, that people finally get to eat it on the cone, soft, not frozen hard as a rock. And
okay, so where did the whole idea with the ice cream come from?
Let me tell you, it was wintertime, and we close during the winter. Obviously, we don't grow in the winter months. And so Jesse had a lot of time on his hand, and there was a grant, a RAFI grant, that was open for innovative ideas. And Jesse came up with this idea of turning the fruit that we grow into ice cream. And so we spent a couple weeks writing this grant, and we ended up getting it. And so then it was like, okay, we got to do this. So we bought a used soft serve machine, and then started working on recipes. And one thing we're super proud of about our ice cream is that it's totally homemade. We don't use a base. We don't buy a base from anywhere else and then add milk and fruit to it. We make everything from scratch. And so it's a super clean product. And that makes us feel satisfied with what we're selling.
Proud to serve it.
So it brings your customers to your farm, which is a big draw for you guys.
Yeah.
Obviously creates community. I see people hanging out here, obviously social distancing, but hanging out. And then you guys are selling them vegetables too.
Yeah, man, those first few years our farm stand was set up, we would just watch cars drive by and like, man, what are these people eating? We're growing all these vegetables. And finally we started selling ice cream, and then the table would sell out, and we'd sell all our vegetables. And, then it got to the point where, we're calling all our farmer friends like, hey, we got this opportunity do y'all have vegetables, and so, man, it was like, and especially during COVID right now, with maybe farms who were planning on selling to restaurants or farmers markets, they lost those outlets. And then it was so cool for them to be able to bring, sometimes we'll buy it up front, sometimes it was on consignment, whatever it was. They would just show up with beautiful vegetables and then make our stand look great because we weren't prepared for this amount of attention, after COVID.
Right. So that's amazing. I want to ask you guys, so you guys live here, and how does that work, like separating your personal life? Because you guys are open 7 days a week for a different thing. Can you talk about that and sort of the family balance?
Sure. I think a farm is definitely a family business. Up until this year, I'm a nurse as well, so I'm not the farmer of the two of us, and I was kind of backstage up until this year. But eventually, a farm becomes something where you need as many inputs as you can get. And so we have both found our niche, how I can be helpful and support the business. And, being open 7 days a week is obviously a strain, but it's worth it because we grow food and, food goes bad. So it's like, if it's fresh, let's pick it, let's sell it. We just do ice cream generally on the weekends. We're just doing it one day a year this summer, one day a week this summer. Yeah. And so it's not always as packed up here.
Okay. And so what about the weekdays, the 7 days a week sale? You guys do like an honor system thing. How does that work?
Exactly. Thanks for bringing up the honor system. So we don't have a bunch of employees. We've never wanted to have a big crew working here. We wanted to be working the land and farming, and so what we decided to do was just an honor system. And for the first 3 years we had a change bowl. People would come, do the math themselves, put their money, grab change, go. The change bowl, would sometimes disappear. We decided, hey, let's lose the change bowl. Not a great idea. And so now we've been using online sales like
Venmo
and PayPal, as well as cash. And we kind of tell everyone who we see, hey, we don't offer change, but keep your own tab, and if you want to pay us next time you come, or we owe you, however it works, make it work so that you can take home what you want to take home.
Okay, that's awesome. And how's that separation work? I know like your house is obviously in a different part of the property. Does that ever become an issue? Like there's days you just like don't want to interact with people, you just want your home. Like how does that balance work?
Well, you set up and then you skedaddle.
Okay.
And you put a sign up that says family only.
Okay. Past this point.
And people have been pretty respectful of that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yes.
And obviously, like you probably know most of the people that are here, people in your community.
Yeah. And you get to know them, up here, which is such a blessing to get to know your neighbors through a farm stand.
So you guys are dangling, like the carrot you guys are dangling is ice cream, and then you sell them all the healthy vegetables.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and just to walk up on that table, it's like, man, this is beautiful. All the vegetables, and the ice cream's cool too. But you're exactly right. I think people at this point kind of hear about the ice cream, and they sometimes show up and they're like, whoa,
wow, tomatoes too?
Tomatoes or salad, and they're
pretty
like,
irresistible.
Yeah.
Ice cream is also kind of the creative, fun part of the farm, I would say. I'm sure, growing all sorts of exotic vegetables and beautiful different varieties is fun too, but coming up with new flavors, or recently we've been working with an herbalist friend to add herbs to some of our sorbets. That's been a real treat.
Very cool.
So
Trying to figure out how to make sorbet or how to make ice cream, it's like not as easy or straightforward as you would think. And every batch and every fruit consistency is different, and some are icy and some are creamy, and and trying to, where we've been winging it, now we're trying to like write a recipe, and
I know if I was doing this, I would probably gain like 40 pounds.
I eat ice cream every day.
Okay.
A lot of ice cream every day.
Or every night.
All summer long.
That's amazing. Hey guys, beautiful thing you guys got going on here. How can people follow along with what you guys are doing?
We post photos and information on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Or you could come visit us, Hillsborough, North Carolina.
I'll leave links down below for all that stuff, and hopefully people can not just check you guys online, but come by and try some ice cream.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
It's great meeting you, Josh.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Come on, cattle. Come on. Woo-wee. Come on. Ale, come. Come on, y'all. Y'all making me look bad.
Almost a lot of respect, and that's just, I'm rambling. You know, there's
Start over. Yeah.